Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be doing an author taste test. Before I get into anything bookish, however, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what is your favorite of Matt Haig's work. So it took me a little while, but I finally got around to making another author taste test video. If you're new here with authors, I usually give them 2 books, and then if I don't like either of them, chances are I'm probably not going to pick up any more of their stuff. Thus, author taste test. The only thing that's necessary for me to do a author taste test is if I have more than 2 of their books on my TBR. I'll put a link to the playlist for the previous ones up above, but this round we are doing Matt Haig. The first book I actually had on my TBR from him was The Radleys, which is an older work that I genuinely don't remember how it got put on my TBR, but I do know the base synopsis I had going into this was that we were following a family of vampires living in suburbia, and the kids of the family were not aware they were vampires. Now, that sounded pretty interesting whenever I first put it on my TBR, but then I heard a ton about Matt Haig's newest book, or is this his newest book? He might have come out with something more recently. Anyway, The Midnight Library. This one was all over anything book community related in 2020? When did this come out? 2020. I knew this book was playing around with the idea of multiple universes, and that we are following Nora, who is going to try and kill herself, and shortly before she does, she actually ends up transporting into this midnight library. Within this library, every single book she reads is a different version of her life if she had made some different decisions, some of them small, some of them a lot bigger. That sounded really intriguing, and obviously with that sort of setup, I figured there was going to be some meaningful commentary in it. Paired with the fact that I've heard tons of positive reviews for this book, I was pretty excited to get into it. Although both of these books are fiction, they have pretty different setups, so I was thinking they would be perfect for an author taste test because it really gives me the opportunity to try out Haig's writing in very different setups. The Radleys is also a fair bit older, whereas The Midnight Library is pretty recent, so maybe that'll also show me a little bit about how his writing has matured and might impact my feelings at the end of the video. Hey guys, so I have hit the halfway point into The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and okay, so obviously I went into this book knowing that it had garnered a ton of praise, and obviously it's hard to ignore that, so I went in with fairly high expectations, and thus far, I can say I was not expecting this to start so f***ing depressing. I mean, I knew what the initial plot was. I understood that this did have content warnings for suicidal ideation, but still I was not expecting the starting tone to be that low. The hopeless feeling that Nora, the main character, is experiencing definitely permeates the entire first few chapters. Once we enter the actual official Midnight Library, though, I will say I was reinvigorated and my interest in the book definitely picked back up. The story really pulled me in once we finally saw the library, had it explained to us, and then started to see some of the different lives Nora could have lived if she made different choices. The chapters are also pretty short, which does make this book read fairly fast. However, the pacing is pretty slow, so that's an interesting juxtaposition whenever you're reading. While I like the message that is being handled here, it's not subtle, and already I do feel like it is getting a little repetitive. I don't know how to feel about the writing. On one hand, it feels like it's trying to be really deep, but is still remaining pretty surface level. However, there have been a few lines, I don't know if you can see, that I have tabbed, but it's just not nearly as many as I was anticipating with this sort of a setup. I do think that Haig has done a good job of calling back to previous pieces of information we've learned about Nora from the beginning, especially in her alternate lives, so we can see certain elements of Nora that are so true to her no matter what universe we're in. I will say the humor is pretty dry, very British. Between those two things, I just don't feel like I really know Nora's personality that well. I understand and see all this background from Nora, I just want more. Right at the halfway point, there is this additional little reveal that takes place, and once again, I will say that has reinvigorated me, and I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen next with the plot. So at least Haig is doing that. It's not completely stagnant. There is some additional twists going on that all have seemed pretty well timed. I don't know. All in all, I'm kind of feeling underwhelmed with this thus far, so my estimated rating is at like 3.5 stars. Here's hoping that at the end of this video, I will have a more positive review for you. Hey guys, so I officially finished out The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and I will say in the latter half of this book, it did take a turn for the positive. For the most part, I did start to enjoy my time with the book a lot more. I still don't think Nora, our main character, ever had a ton of personality. I was still plenty invested in her trying to find the best life where she is the happiest, or at least believes she can be the happiest. On the whole, I felt like the plot was predictable, but the message was definitely still solid. I understand why this book gets a lot of hype. I appreciate what Matt Haig was doing here, and from what I hear about his other books, that's something he does quite often, is having this life-affirming message within them. In this case, I just didn't feel too strongly about the book one way or the other, so it came out to about 3.5 stars in my Caw Pile breakdown. It's fine. I'll keep it on my shelves for now, but I wouldn't be terribly surprised if in the future I unhaul it. Here's hoping that maybe the next book, The Radleys, which I think I've maybe heard one person ever talk about, will go a little bit better because I don't have nearly as much expectation going in. Hey y'all, so I have finished The Radleys. Finished as in that I did not finish it. I actually ended up DNFing it about 30% in. Maybe Matt Haig just isn't for me. Although I went in with very little knowledge about this, I knew it was kind of just following this family that were vampires and trying to live as normal human beings. Once I actually got settled into the story, I thought it was very interesting. Basically, we are following this family who are all vampires. The children don't actually know this, and although the family is actively abstaining from drinking blood, in order to do so, that means they have to eat a lot of meat. And the daughter is trying to become a vegan because she has noticed that animals don't like her, and she thinks perhaps if I become vegan, they'll like me more. It has nothing to do with her eating habits. It's because she's a vampire. I'm not going to say anything else, but obviously the fact that the daughter has been trying to become a vegan, kind of learn about the vampires that exist in this world. It's a very cool idea. There were really short chapters, so I was working through it pretty quickly. I didn't mind the fact that this alternates POVs. Between both of those, and then also having a lot of characters that you're alternating between, and then a omniscient narrator perspective, just made it so it felt like I couldn't connect with any of them. We follow the mom, the dad, the kids, the uncle. We also see from the perspective of like a friend, a neighbor, a bully, this woman that is trying to sleep with the husband. It's so many different people, and then maybe getting only 5-minute chapters with each of them. Yeah, it makes it really hard to connect to the story, so I didn't particularly care about where this was going. Whenever we would see from the perspective of the family members, they're each dealing with their own struggles, keeping secrets from each other. If I can't get to know them, I'm not going to be interested in finding out what those secrets are or seeing the outcome of the issues being addressed. This was worsened when we started to see from some of those characters outside of the family because I really didn't care about their perspective and it didn't really feel necessary. And then because of that sort of a layout, the story was very jumpy in pacing because we're not really seeing a perfect linear timeline. It's not as though we start with the mom and then in the next chapter we continue right off of that moment with the dad. It's more like we start with the mom in the morning and then we see the kids on the bus to school and then we see the dad at work. I didn't like the layout. And then one of my absolute least favorite tropes when it comes to a mystery element is the mother clearly has this secret that she's keeping from the rest of her family, but I hate whenever it's utilized against the reader. That's cool, I get it, you have your secrets, but if I'm seeing through your perspective, why would you hide it from yourself? In the end, this just did not pan out for me. This is one of Matt Haig's older books. It actually came out in like 2010. The Midnight Library came out in like 2020, and it also was just about a 3.5 star read. So between the two of these, I just don't really know if Matt Haig's an author for me. I think the ideas for his stories are pretty cool, but I don't know if his writing style and execution is actually something I'm interested in. So as far as an author taste test goes, I can't say I'm gonna be picking up his stuff anytime soon. With that being said though, if there is a Matt Haig book apart from these two that you really enjoyed, tell me about it in the comments down below. Perhaps it might make me change my mind about him as an author, we'll see. But at this point, I don't think he's for me. Alright y'all, so that is it for today. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials linked in the description if you're interested in keeping up with what I am reading. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!